Welcome to The Explainer. I want to start today with a fundamental truth that, it completely changes how we view our daily lives. Stress isn't just this invisible, floating feeling. It's a tangible, highly potent physical force. And look, in the exact right amounts, it's an incredible biological tool that can literally save your life. But in the wrong amounts, left totally unchecked, it is quite literally and slowly killing you. So today we're going to visually map out exactly what stress does to your anatomy. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered why your stomach ties itself into absolute knots right before a big job interview? Or, how about this? The incredibly frustrating phenomenon of finally going on a relaxing holiday only to instantly fall ill the second you get to the hotel. I mean, we've all been there, right? Well, these aren't just random coincidences. They're actually highly visible, everyday manifestations of acute and chronic stress just wreaking havoc on your biological systems.
To really understand the mechanics behind this whole shebang, here's our roadmap for the explainer today. We're going to move chronologically right through your body. We'll hit the body's alarm system, then check out the organ-by-organ toll. Look at how stress is rewiring the brain and driving cellular aging and genetics. And finally, we'll end with the absolute best part, the biological antidote.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the body's alarm system.
So, to understand why stress damages us, we first got to realize that, not all stress is actually bad. There's this concept called hormesis. This is mild, acute stress. Think of a really hard workout, a freezing cold shower, or even temporary fasting. This kind of stress actually activates beneficial, adaptive responses in your body. It literally makes you stronger. This ancient life-saving survival mechanism it's fundamentally different from the chronic, inescapable psychological stress of modern life that just wears us down.
Here's how it goes down when your brain perceives a threat. It's a very specific cascade. Step 1, the threat triggers your amygdala. That's your brain's built-in alarm system. Step 2, this fires up the HPA axis alongside your sympathetic nervous system. Then, step 3, happening in literal seconds, adrenaline, or epinephrine, is released. Boom! It instantly spikes your heart rate, dilates your airways, and shunts blood away from your gut and straight into your muscles so you can fight or run. And then step 4, minutes later, cortisol floods in to sustain this intense response, keeping your blood sugar elevated to fuel the ongoing emergency.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds, the organ-by-organ toll.
To see how this transforms from a helpful initial cortisol flood into, honestly, a systemic anatomical nightmare, we have to look at a clinical term called allostatic load. Basically, this is the cumulative, literal wear and tear on your body from chronic stress. When that fight or flight button is just perpetually jammed in the on position, your body undergoes a devastating systemic breakdown. A high allostatic load is directly linked to accelerated aging, serious cardiovascular disease, and ultimately, a significantly reduced lifespan.
Now check out exactly how this wear and tear shows up across your different systems. Look at the cardiovascular system. Chronic stress cranks up your blood pressure and drives arterial inflammation. But pay really close attention to the immune and digestive systems here. See, cortisol intentionally suppresses these non-essential systems to keep you alive right in the moment. It slows down gut motility, which, is exactly why you feel sick before that interview, and it suppresses your immune cells. This perfectly explains the holiday sickness mystery. Once the chronic stress of your job finally lifts, your suppressed immune system desperately tries to reboot, and all those bugs you've been fending off, they finally catch up with you.
And it doesn't stop at your internal organs either. The prolonged physical tension you need for that fight-or-flight response actively degrades your musculoskeletal system. Over time, that constant bracing gives you brutal tension headaches, chronic back pain, jaw clenching, which is clinically called bruxism, and get this, cortisol even increases bone resorption. It is physically weakening your skeleton over time. Crazy, right?
Moving right along to Section 3. Rewiring the brain. So what's happening in our physical bodies is mirrored by this fascinating but honestly terrifying miniature horror story unfolding right inside our heads. The crucial takeaway here is that chronic stress literally rewires the geography of your brain. On one side, we've got the hippocampus, your memory center. Under chronic stress, that continuous flood of cortisol actually causes the hippocampus to physically shrink, which deeply impairs your ability to form new memories. But on the flip side, the amygdala, that alarm system we talked about, it physically enlarges. This makes you hyperreactive to future threats. In severe cases like PTSD, this hyperactivated system becomes so totally dysregulated that it fires off massive panic responses to everyday stimuli that aren't actually dangerous at all. And this physiological reality is backed by immense scientific authority. Heavy-hitting academic experts like Robert Sapolsky, who wrote Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, and Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, have meticulously documented this. They show how chronic psychological stress basically takes our ancient, finely tuned survival mechanisms and weaponizes them against our own bodies. Because, our biology just hasn't evolved to tell the difference between a literal lion attack and a toxic work environment.
Let's guide this even deeper. Section 4. Cellular aging and genetics. Because the wear and tear of that allostatic load, it doesn't just reshape our organs and brain structures, it reaches all the way down into our very DNA. The year 2004 was actually a massive breakthrough for this. A landmark study by Dr. Alyssa Eppel and her colleagues looked closely at chronic worriers and long-term caregivers. And what they found was just staggering. The sheer burden of their chronic stress meant they were actually aging faster on a cellular level compared to the rest of the population.
The mechanics behind this cellular aging all comes down to telomeres. Think of these like the little protective plastic tips at the ends of your shoelaces, but for your chromosomes. They naturally shorten just a tiny bit every time a cell divides, but chronic stress rapidly accelerates the shortening of these protective caps. And even more incredibly, severe chronic stress can actually alter gene expression. Emerging research is even suggesting these epigenetic changes might be partially passed down to our children. It's a phenomenon known as intergenerational trauma.
Okay, let's take a breath, because we've arrived at Section 5, the biological antidote.
I know everything we just covered sounds pretty bleak, but I want to reassure you, we are not defenseless here. We possess a built-in, highly effective physiological countersystem that is explicitly designed to combat all of this damage, and it's brilliant. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. If the sympathetic system is the gas pedal for fight or flight, the parasympathetic system is the brakes. It's your body's rest and digest pathway, and it is the absolute biological antidote to that toxic cortisol cascade we talked about. This entire calming system is primarily controlled by a remarkable superhighway in your body called the vagus nerve. And the most empowering part of all this, you can intentionally switch on your vagus nerve to halt cortisol production in its tracks. Evidence-based activators include deep, diaphragmatic breathing, engaging in meaningful social connection, regular physical exercise, prioritizing high-quality sleep, and mindfulness practices. By actively doing these things, you are literally manually overriding your brain's alarm system and telling your body, hey, it is safe to heal now.
Grasping these concepts, really seeing the actual biology of how stress impacts you, from your brain all the way down to your telomeres, that is your very first actionable step toward better health. Stress is highly manageable once you truly understand it. So, I'm going to leave you with this question. Knowing the incredible power of your parasympathetic nervous system, what specific stress management technique are you going to try this week? Thanks for exploring the science with me today.